What's up, Kansas City? Cascade Sports. This is your host, Glenn Bryan. I'm sitting here today with Mr. Rob McCutcheon, who's a Sports Information Director at UMKC in the Department of Athletics. I want to jump right into it. Rick Bentman, men's soccer coach at UMKC, tweeted this Sunday after an exhibition game loss to Rockhurst Hawks 2-1 that was played at Dunwood Stadium in front of 2,457 fans. His tweet message, he said, "Thanks to everyone for the great turnout tonight. Great second half, lots of good stuff to build on." What are your thoughts after hearing that, Rob?
Exactly what I thought watching the game as well. It was a good turnout. We had a lot of people from both Rockhurst and UMKC that came out, and that's one of the showcase games where we get a lot of people that don't normally see soccer to come out and see soccer. So Coach Ben's very happy to show a good product to a lot of the people out there. Now Rockhurst came out with the win, but as he said, the second half was pretty much dominated by UMKC. Just didn't put some of those opportunities away to score goals. So that's what you want out of an exhibition match, is to get better as the match goes along.
Wow.
They have one more on Saturday, exhibition, so they'll probably try a few new things and just to get ready for the season opener against Wisconsin Badgers on the 31st.
Wow, that's a great perspective. And you used to play soccer too as well, right?
I did, and that's one of my favorite things about taking the job here at UMKC is at my previous school that I was working for, they didn't have men's soccer. And I really enjoy being able to be a part of the men's soccer program again and be able to watch that quite a bit.
Fair enough, Rob. I told my mom I was doing this interview. She's a UMKC alum. She said, "Football?" I said, "No, Mom, soccer." I could not tell her for the life of me why UMKC does not have football. To the football fans who look at UMKC sports program and say, "Why isn't there a football team?" Why is that?
Well, really, the biggest hurdle that UMKC has in adding sports is land. There's just not really a lot of land, and if you're going to add a football team to a university, firstly you have to have money, you have to land, and you have to be able to build that facility somewhere. And they don't have any of those three right now for the amount of money that you want to put into a football program that would be competitive. It's really difficult in Division I to start a program from scratch in football and be able to be competitive. You might have to look at a program like Drake University where they have no scholarships and they just do football without a scholarship and play in a non-scholarship league, and they're still bringing in a lot of money for having to be able to support that program, because that's 120 student athletes, travel, food, all kinds of stuff, and it's millions and millions of dollars to
Very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Very knowledgeable, Rob. I want to shift directors here a little bit and get a little more about your background. I understand you were born in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Northeast Oklahoma, and Tulsa. Went to East Central High School. Born and raised, lived there my whole life. It was a great city. My parents still live there.
What did your parents do?
My mom works in insurance. My dad actually is now moved away. Actually, he's living in Oregon. He works for a restaurant, multi-unit management.
Were you involved in any extracurricular activities there at East Central High?
Yes, I ran cross country. I played soccer. I played baseball. I was pretty much involved in any type of sport I could possibly get my hands on. That's kind of where my background is, and that's how I wound up getting into college athletics. Eventually, whenever I figured out what this field was, you see it on TV, you see all the different things, and you don't realize how things happen until you kind of get into the business and you're trying to figure it out.
How was that balancing all of these extracurricular activities with school? Was there a standard set where you had to meet a certain?
Yeah, it's almost like in college, not quite as high as standards, obviously. We had to have a certain GPA to stay eligible, to be able to play, be able to start games. If we were currently flunking a class, you don't play. So it's and that's all starts with who the coach is, and the coach has their own standards, and they try to instill into you what's most important. Because if you can't pass the classes, you're not going to go play college ball anyway.
What was your coach's name?
Clancy Gray. Clancy Gray. He also coached me when I was a little kid. His son and me are the same age, so I knew him from when I was 5 or 6 years old all the way up to high school. And he was an art teacher there, and he also coached soccer. So
You chose to attend Missouri Southern, which is located in Joplin, and you majored in mass communications. What made you decide Missouri Southern?
Well, Missouri Southern, I played club soccer at Tulsa as well, and both of my coaches that I had during club soccer both played at Missouri Southern. So I had a kind of an in recruiting-wise there. So I got recruited to play there by a coach named Jeff Van Dusen, and he was just joining the program the year I got there. I had some options to go play in Texas and in NSU in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and some junior colleges. But I decided that since my two coaches kind of knew Missouri Southern and they said it'd be a good fit for me, so I decided to go up there.
Rob, we know that you then went on to graduate school at University of Central Missouri, where you were involved in media relations. Why focus on that area?
Well, really, when I went to Missouri Southern, I was a computer information systems major when I first got there, and I was sitting in class one day and I was typing in code on some C++ program, and I was just so bored that I was like, I've got to go do something different. This is not what I see myself doing in life. I want to be involved in sports. I want to be involved in writing and things like that. So I went across campus to our sports information office at Missouri Southern to a guy named Joe Moore, who's our sports information director there. And I had known him because I'd been there for about a year and a half, just from interacting with him with interviews and things like that, kind of like we're doing here today. Interacting with him and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I saw this field I didn't even know existed before I got to college, and started talking to him, and I said, hey, I'm going to change my major. What should I get into? He said, mass communications, do as much writing as you possibly can. So I decided to go start doing some mass communications, and I started volunteering in his office. Said, you guys don't have to pay me. I just want to work in here. I want to get experience. And that's what I did. And then he left that job part of the way through. I finished up my internship at Southern with another guy, and Joe had left to go to Central Missouri. So whenever I finished my undergrad, I decided I wanted to go to finish my school and get my master's degree and go to Central Missouri and follow Joe up there. And I got a graduate assistant position with him, and that was my big stepping stone, my big break to be able to break into this field, really.
Break in you did. Now we're at UMKC, go Kangaroos. The program's kind of encountering a transition, if you will. Understand that we are now involved with the Western Athletic Conference. Recent switch. Can you tell us how that occurred?
Yeah, it all kind of happened pretty quickly. And as you guys know, following the sports landscape the last 2 or 3 years, conference realignment is a major focus. And what happens whenever those schools in the top tier, when they start switching conferences and leaving openings in other leagues, it trickles down the next year to the smaller conferences, and then it trickles down to the even smaller conferences after that. So what happens is it's kind of a domino effect where somebody opens up a spot in this conference in the WAC. The WAC they have 5 new teams this year. So all these conferences are fighting for their lives, and they're offering schools things to give them incentives to come and join their league. So the WAC offered us a really good deal. They were going to pay our exit fee from leaving the Summit League. They were going to waive our entrance fee. So as like with some of these schools leaving the Big 12 and leaving the ACC and leaving these schools, like they're paying $10 million just to leave the league. So we had to pay nothing, and we had to pay nothing to get into the league. Also, they offered us the opportunity to host the WAC men's basketball and women's basketball championships right here in Kansas City. So we took that opportunity, and we don't know exactly when it's going to take place, probably year 3, year 4 in the league, when we feel pretty comfortable with our men's basketball program, with the direction it's going. We'll be able to bring that tournament here to Kansas City, with already a great college basketball town, with the Big 12 tournament here and the MIAA and the NAIA. NBA tournament. So we'll be able to throw one more tournament right into that mix.
Speaking of basketball, we now have a new coach, Kori Richardson, who was assistant coach at the national championship winning Louisville. We're bringing him here. Quick fact, UMKC only has one player who's only, correct me if I'm wrong, who has made the NBA draft first round, selected number 19. That was Tony DeMoss, who was picked up by Dallas Mavericks. Will bringing Richardson here increase our exposure?
Yes, really, mainly it's gonna be a building process. We can't expect the first 2 years for him to bring in NBA talent right away, but he's already making a splash in the recruiting world, in the national media. A lot of people know who he is. He's a who's who among major coaches. So we think and we hope, and we're pretty confident in Coach Richardson that he's going to start bringing in higher caliber student athletes the longer he's here. And first you have to win. You have to make it a place to where guys that are kind of teetering on deciding whether they want to go to UMKC or a big Missouri Valley Conference team like Wichita State. You gotta put yourself in the conversation with those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of got to build your program up to get to that level, and that's what Kareem's trying to do right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, not all, the majority of athletes as we know, do not make it to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your focus on you at UMKC athletics after graduate?
Yeah, that's
the majority of them do.
That's the thing, is graduation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the guys that is probably the most famous at UMKC as an alum is Michael Watson. Michael Watson just accepted a position as superintendent for the Interscholastic League, and he's the all-time leading scorer at UMKC. He's a really well-known guy, and when he got his degree from UMKC, I think he played professionally for 6 years after UMKC in Europe and in different areas and some United States leagues and things like that. But he knew that wasn't going to be his making a living. That wasn't going to be the way he made a living. And even all these guys that go play in the NBA for 4 or 5 years, they can't live off that money for the rest of their life.
End up broke.
Yeah,
if you don't have
you've got to have that degree. That's a hugely important thing, and that's something that Kareem really, he's really adamant about. And all of our student athletes and coaches, that's a big focus for our athletic department.
Are you hands-on? What is the role you play with your student athletes?
Absolutely. I have an open door policy, and at the beginning of the year we meet with each team individually, and we try to prepare them for doing these interviews and doing these things to make them more marketable, make the school more marketable, and make us have a good impression with people in the community. And so we like to interact with the student athletes a lot and give them as many opportunities as we can to get themselves better.
How can alumni invest? Business people who have money, how can they invest into sports, particularly at UMKC?
As far as investing in multiple sports of what their interests are.
Time, talent, money into the sports community.
Yeah,
where is it needed?
Really, UMKC, we're in need of. We're trying to raise ticket sales. We're trying to raise sponsorship dollars. We're trying to raise our boosters. We're trying to have a bigger alumni community, a sense of pride for people that played there and didn't even play there. Some of the people that just came out and watched games and they had friends at games. We're just trying to grow every single aspect of that. So with all college athletics department programs, revenue is a huge thing, especially at a mid-major level. People talk about how KU has, they have this giant network of alumni and people want to give money and keep giving money. We need more money than they do because they have those budgets. They already have that type of stuff. You have a better chance of making a difference with a program like UMKC than you do at Kansas.
And Rob McCutcheon, how can they get in touch with you if they are serious about exploring these?
Yeah, well, the person to get in hold of as far as generating revenue and different things like that for UMKC would be Ryan McDonald or Josh Schneider. Those are two guys that do our development section. Sponsorship, we have a whole marketing area. Cassie Molatoris and Jessica Dixon, they're mainly involved in the sponsorship area. And then We also have ticketing area with Bob Burris and where we're trying to raise season ticket sales, and Ryan Majersic as well. So we've got a whole crew of people that's their job is to help us raise revenue in all these different areas.
One more question. What are you most looking forward to this sports season?
Oh, I'm looking forward to that first game for men's basketball. Absolutely. I want to see what some of these new guys have, and it's going to be exciting. Coach Richardson plays a really fast style, just like Louisville did, and press and run, and you're going to have to be in really good shape to play it. So I saw their first practice the other day, and there's some guys that were dogging pretty hard breathing after that first practice. So it'll be interesting to see, and there's a lot of people that are really excited about it. So November 1st, come on out.
You hear that, Cascade Media? We want you to come out and support UMKC Athletics. We'd like to thank you personally, Mr. Rob, for coming and visiting with us. We'd like to invite you to come back and share with us in greater detail at a later time.
You bet.
What's Up Kansas City? We'd like to thank you as well. Check out more sports video at www.cascadesports.tv, as well as What's Up Kansas City at www.whatsupkansascity.net. I'm your host, Glenn Bryant. Remember, aim high, shoot for the stars. If you miss, shoot for the moon. If you miss, at least you'll land among the stars. Till next time, take care.
What's up, KC? This is Sydney.
This your girl Aisha.
Hey, please check out our show, Girl Talk, where we discuss the latest and greatest things happening within our community. And please also check out Cascade Fashion KC, where we interview entrepreneurs that have it going on within their business and where they talk about their fashion.
Also check out On Top of My Game, where we feature local artists and entertainments around Kansas City metro area. Also, check me out, DJ Retro, on kroo.org on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. I slap a little bit of this and that.
And you can catch all of this greatness on whatsupkansascity.net.
Also, CascadeSports.tv, home of the student athletes.
We go hard in the paint. And don't just like it, share it.